Hello everyone, Mercurial Girl here, and today we are gonna do part 2 of the blend between astrology and tarot cards. So in part 1, we covered the minor arcana cards, and today we are gonna go over the major arcana cards, which are gonna be the first 22 cards of the tarot deck. I am an astrologer and love astrology, and for me, kind of blending astrology and tarot helps me kind of get it into my head. So it's fun to kind of talk about how they can correlate. So let's begin with card number 1, which is going to be the Fool card. Now, to me, this card doesn't really start us into the zodiac, but it's showing that we start with this soul blueprint, this energy that we come into this soul contract with, and we don't really know where it's gonna go, but we know that we are starting the journey of figuring it all out. And if you don't know, the Fool card is card 0 in the tarot deck, and really all of the tarot cards are teaching us the journey of the Fool and his journey to enlightenment. So all of it is kind of taking all of these elements to guide the Fool into a higher knowing, a higher surrendering. So we go into card 2, which is the Magician, and still not starting necessarily the zodiac. To me, this card is knowing that there is something above, something below, and we are working on finding and gathering all these tools to find the blend between the spiritual realm or higher inspiration and how to ground it into the now. This is a very creative energy card, and it's really just about, beginning the journey and figuring out how to create the resources to make something happen. This is the High Priestess card, and this card is really pointing to the more spiritual side of things. So I think this is beginning the leap that there is maybe more than meets the eye, that we have this whole other intuitive side that we can tune into beyond just our physical body and this material world. And it's starting to create trust on this. I got this card in my very first astrology reading, and it was super inspiring that I was understanding that there was more ways to view our reality and to begin kind of the deeper spiritual unveiling for my life. The Empress card is the last card before we get into all of the different zodiac signs, and the Empress card is really bringing in this energy of beauty and love. This card represents the mother, and it actually has the Venus symbol on it. And this card is kind of like a goddess energy. It has a very organic kind of natural feel to it. But to me, this card is the initiation of the self-love journey, which I believe astrology is all about, is helping you depersonalize what is happening to you so that there is actually this greater sense of self-knowing, self-love, and also self-surrendering, so we can really connect to the universe or higher source in the best way. All right, now we're gonna get into the zodiac signs. So Aries is our first sign of the zodiac, and we start that off with the Emperor card, which is representing of Aries. So this card is known as the Father card. The Empress is the mother card right before it. And this card is all about the physical world. This card represents the masculine energy, which Aries is a kind of fire masculine energy. And this card is kind of showing more logic over emotion, but that is not always and necessarily the case with Aries. But I love this as our kind of initiator into the masculine, and it really embodies that Mars energy. Then we go to the next card, the Hierophant, which is giving us Taurus energy. So Taurus is that next sign of the zodiac, and this card follows right in behind the Emperor. And this card is really about our study. It's becoming an expert on something and then sharing it out, or having a mentor come and guide us through something. And Taurus really has that fixed energy, but it also loves to know and take take in stuff. It does it in a very controlled and methodical way, and it doesn't rush to get to the answers. It lets the work of study and piecing things together come at a pace that feels good. And this card definitely embodies a lot of that Taurus energy. Then our next card, we have the Lovers card, which is representing of Gemini. So you can already see the duality of the people within this card. And the Lover card is really a card of kind of friendship, a new partnership coming in. And we know that Gemini is rather social and likes to do a form of networking, and is also known for having these two sides coming together. This card can point to a duality kind of coming in as one in your life, and this definitely embodies the Gemini energy. All right, and then next up, we have the Chariot card, which represents Cancer in the zodiac sign. Now, this card is a card of action. It's a get up, get going, get moving kind of energy, and it's all about taking that initiative. And as we know, Cancer is a cardinal sign, so it starts off the season. It has that initiator energy, and this card really points to a spiritual idea coming into play. And if you know Cancer energy, you know there's a sensitivity there that is coming from a very intuitive and empathetic place. And this card definitely points to something is getting us going, but it's coming from a more divine energy. Then next, we have the Strength card with a nice lion. So we know this is our Leo card. And this card is really about finding and connecting to our inner strength, our inner confidence. And it's really showing that not everything has to be this fight, that you can meet things with a sort of softness. This card is showing that we are working on facing our kind of inner demons. And Leo definitely goes on a journey in this life to kind of unpack the ego side of it and learn that with time, you can let go of the ego and let that creative energy just kind of shine out. And this card definitely embodies that Leo energy. Then moving on to the next, we have the Hermit card. And this card is our Virgo card. So I love this link as someone who has a lot of Virgo in their chart. So the Hermit card points to tuning in and going into kind of an introspective sort of state. I feel like Virgo really over time learns to refine and set a lot of boundaries that end up making all the self-care that needs to happen. And the Hermit card is really about taking the time to meditate and see what your needs actually are. It's learning about embracing peace, and it's really about knowing that the self-love and self-care is something that ultimately is always going to matter, and no one should be able to pull us away from that. That is definitely Virgo's journey in this life path as well. The next card we have is the Wheel of Fortune card. This one is not necessarily tied to any of the zodiac, but I think it points once again to just the full surrendering and trust of the path. So if you divide the Major Arcana cards off into sections, this starts kind of the third chapter of the Major Arcana cards, which is figuring out what the Fool is in control of and what he is not. And this card is really just a card of surrendering back into that process of letting go and trusting, similar to that kind of High Priestess energy of knowing that you are being guided by something deeper. So we get back into the zodiac with the next card, which is the Justice card, and this card represents Libra. We know that Libra energy is about finding balance and it's all about fairness. I've actually done so many chart readings on different Libras that go into some form of the legal world because they really care about things being played out fairly. So this card is about working through injustices. It's about looking at your own judgments and kind of reflecting in on those. And it can even be a card that indicates choices choices are coming up, which I think is so funny because Libra often struggles with choices. So I love the tie-in between the Justice card and Libra. Then going into the next one, we have the Hangman, and this one is not traditionally tied into the zodiac, but I feel like this Hanged Man gives so much Libra energy as well. So when you're trying to remember it, it's really easy just to kind of lump this with the card before. So the Hanged Man is really about kind of sitting in limbo between something that maybe you don't fully have the answer on yet. There is a kind of uncomfortableness about this card. There is a lesson that is being learned in this card. You can see by the little light up around his head, but he's kind of in this funky, uncomfortable transition. Then we go into the next card, and this card is the Death card. This is representative of Scorpio, and we know that Scorpio energy has kind of this darker depth to it. Scorpio really learns things from experiences. So a Scorpio often goes through a lot of rebirth in this life. So a lot of things come up so that Scorpio will continue to shed layers of themselves to get deeper into connection with the soul. So this card gives us a lot of that same rebirth energy. It is the end of a chapter. It is transformation happening, and Scorpios are always kind of going through that constant death and rebirth cycle. The next card we have is the Temperance card, and this card represents Sagittarius in our zodiac. This is a card that is really about finding and rebalancing to an inner sense of peace. So Sagittarius naturally has this connection to an inner calm because I feel like Sagittarius always knows that they are being guided. There also tends to be more luck with heavy Sagittarius charts because Sagittarius is ruled by the planet Jupiter that gives us a lot of just trust in the universe. So this card is really about tuning into that inner peace, that inner sense of balance, and that inner sense of trust. Then we go into the Devil card. I feel like we're really doing Capricorn wrong when we link it with the Devil card, but this is the parallel that a lot of people make when they are assigning the tarot cards to the zodiac. And this card is really about overdoing, over excess. It's attachment to things that don't really matter. It has like a kind of gluttony energy to it, and I think the main parallel between this and Capricorn is Capricorn can tear itself apart really easily. I think Capricorn can put its focus so much on getting ahead that it can often miss what's happening right in front. It can be so goal-oriented that it can fall into that kind of excess energy where the stuff that you're putting value on is stuff that's actually not gonna really hold you into a deeper sense of self-love and trust with the universe. So I think that Capricorn can get gripped in kind of this darker energy. So that is some of the parallel I can see with this card and Capricorn energy. Then we go to the next card where we have the Tower card. To me, this is not assigned to any of the zodiacs, but this is giving all planets in retrograde. All shadows are out. We are changing complete course and direction. It's the final card of that, what we can and can't control. And within astrology, we are always seeing that the planets are teaching us something, and it's not always forward momentum. Sometimes it can be reflecting back and looking at our shadows, and that often doesn't happen without an energy outside of us like making us have to do that work. So Tower is going to relate to that retrograde in my brain. And then our next card is the Star card, which represents Aquarius energy. So this Sun card is all about an understanding of self and others, and Aquarius is definitely the more humanitarian sign of the zodiac. It believes in networking and it believes in connection. This is also a very promising card for hopes and dreams in the future, and Aquarius is also very future oriented. They know how to think ahead and balance kind of that head and heart energy, and this card is definitely pointing to that. Then we go to the Moon card, which is our Pisces card. The Moon card can come in tarot with some anxiety and some fears and intuitive stuff coming up. And I really believe for Pisces energy that Pisces is so mutable and so flowy. It's a mutable water sign, so it's constantly ebbing and flowing with the energies around, which Pisces goes through a lot of roller coasters of emotions because they're like a sponge for what's outside of them. And this card very much points to looking at what subconscious patterns are coming up, what's happening around you. And I think for Pisces, it can be tough to kind of ground, and this card is also showing that, there can be a lot surfacing up, but there is still this intuitive way to kind of take the information that is coming, and I think that very much points to Pisces energy of having to kind of trust that they are given a lot of divine information, and even though they can feel kind of lost in all of the energies, you can always come back to your soul and connect inward and try to find any form of grounding you can. All right, we just have a couple cards left of the Major Arcana. Now we've gone through all the different zodiac signs. So we have the Sun card, which can be very representative of even that just like sunny, bright energy. This card shows a renewed sense of confidence. It's a big yes. So it's giving us all of that really positive side of the sun. It's really showing that we are connected to our higher selves. Then we have the final Judgment card. To me, this card is all about just evaluating. So it's taking all of the information in and really sitting with what we have been through. This has a very healing energy to it, and it shows we are at the end of the journey or an end of a chapter, and we are just looking back and kind of sensing all of it. And then we have the final card, which is the World card. This is the end of the Major Arcana cards. And this card is all about coming full circle. So you've studied all of the elements of the zodiac, you've gone through the journey of tarot, and you have reached your conclusion. I hope this kind of combination between astrology and tarot helps you either learning astrology or learning the tarot cards a little better. Thank you for joining me in another video. Make sure that you are supporting and subscribing to this channel. Follow my Instagram, follow my TikTok where I have even more content. Thank you for being here. See you next time.